Hello there. So today we're going to have a look at some of the best sort of clothing and kit to bring with you when you're out on an adventure doing some urban exploring, some like outdoor adventure, maybe something that's a bit hands-on, bit of climbing, bit of sneaking, bit of I don't know, exploring sort of stuff that's not just outdoors but also maybe a little bit man-made as well, where you might want some rugged clothes and some equipment for the kinds of spaces that you're going to end up in, which some of them might be quite hardcore and quite testing. So it is quite useful to have clothes and equipment that can help you with that. So we're going to have a look at some of the clothing that we at Beyond the Point recommend that you wear. Now it's all personal preference at the end of the day. You know, if you want to bring your own personal style into it, you know, go for it. But this is just some of the stuff that we personally have found works for us when we're doing it. So, you know, at the moment I'm just wearing sort of plain black clothes, which to be honest is not a far cry from what I'd actually wear out and about. I quite like the sort of plain clothes because sometimes not only do you want to sort of stay on the down low if you're sort of going around in the dark sometimes, but also you might want to sort of pose for your own photographs or your video clips where you want someone that's quite sort of plain and anonymous in your shots. So that's why personally I always sort of dress fairly plainly, because I like to sort of pose in the photograph sometimes, but not sort of be too attention seeking that distracts from the surroundings. Personally, a lot of the time I wear just some hiking trousers, some normal outdoor trousers. They're a bit baggy, this pair here. They're in this sort of khaki, which looks quite cool. Some people kind of like to wear the old military surplus type clothing. That might be up your street. It's just whatever you prefer. But I find the hiking trousers, they're often quite thin, but they're a bit more breathable and non-restricting compared to jeans. Also underneath, you might want to wear obviously jumper and stuff depending on what the weather's like, but underneath you might want to wear a t-shirt, or you could go for a thermal top. Something like this that's designed for hiking and outdoor activities. You could also wear your thermal bottoms as well if it's really cold in the winter. Sometimes that's worth it, but sometimes you get really hot really quickly if you're being quite hands-on. And then coats wise, just a normal sort of outdoor hiking jacket. Got a few seeds and bits getting in the way here. The local wildlife is quite rich at the moment. But yeah, just a hiking jacket or an outdoor sort of raincoat generally we find works for us. Sometimes they do get quite hot inside, so you pay for what you get. Some of the cheaper ones are going to be less breathable, but this one here is what I've been wearing at the moment. And yeah, it's got a hood for if it rains, it keeps you waterproof. On the whole, you can't really go wrong with it. So now we're moving on to something else which is quite important, and this is the footwear. We've got a few different types of footwear here that we advise could be good to wear on various different types of explores depending on the weather and the sorts of terrain that you're going through. This is a pair that I've been really actually a big fan of recently. These are these canvas Palladium boots. They're kind of like Converse All-Star type shoes, but they've got basically just these bigger rubber soles like these treads, and they're inspired actually by jungle boots. I think that the French Foreign Legion or something used to wear in the jungle. And they're basically just like Converse but a bit beefier. They've got really good grip with the rubber soles, so they're great sort of for the summer, and they've got the ankle support because they're boots as well. The only problem is obviously they're not waterproof, but they're quite a stylish pair of boots as well. So, you know, if you want something that's a little bit more versatile, you know, that might be what you like. Joe's pair of shoes here, we got these, which is the Mammoth, and they're outdoors trainers. They're actually made for walking. They're waterproof, they're quite sort of chunky, so they've got quite good support of your foot there by the looks of it, and they've got good grip on the bottom as well. A lot of trainers are just flat and they're no good for stuff, especially climbing, but those have got a good grip on them. So they look really ideal for something when you want sort of a lightweight pair of shoes that's also quite hard wearing. The next pair, we got these big old pair of army boots. These are my pair. Basically I'll wear those in the winter as opposed to these in the summer, because as soon as the rain comes down then everything's going to get muddy very quickly. So they're just basically a pair of all leather boots, and they are actually reproduction of some sort of 1950s, 60s army boots, DMS as they're called, and they're basically the same sort of boots as what people wore in World War II, but they've got rubber soles rather than these big hobnails, and they look a bit overkill. I remember sharing them in a forum, an exploring forum, asking for people's opinions and if they were worth getting, and people thought I was mad for wearing these vintage style army boots, but I'll tell you what, once you wear them in, they are perfect. And then finally, we've got just a pair of welly boots, nothing too sort of complex going on there, but you know, if it is really muddy and you're going through flooded stuff up to sort of ankle height, then those are what you want. You might want some waders if you're going through water that comes up any higher, as we sometimes have to wear ourselves. But you know, we've got everything from not very waterproof all the way up to waterproof up to your ankles there. So plenty of choice. Find something that you like. So the next thing we're going to look at is accessories, I suppose you could call them. Things that you might want to wear if the weather is particularly bad or for certain special requirements. So first of all, I've just got a little hat on my head. Just keeps you nice and warm, keeps the wind out of your ears. Really good if you're going on any long walks where you're going to be exposed to the elements. Next thing I've got is just gloves, and I've got two pairs of gloves. I've got fingerless gloves. You don't obviously need fingerless gloves, but I find it is probably better for, like, you know, operating the camera equipment. On this hand, I've just got this really simple pair of like woolly gloves, good for the winter, keeping you warm. On this hand, I've got like this sort of grippier pair for climbing stuff, especially if like there's rough surfaces that your hands are going to be against. This pair's got this weird like knuckle thing on them, which, you know, probably avoid getting that because it's just really unnecessary. You're not hopefully having to sort of knock anyone out on your adventures, but basically they're just like a sort of like athletic kind of like weightlifting gloves or something, which are quite good for grip. And then also something else that I've got, this sort of thing around my neck. It's just a sort of elasticated polyester like tube. I guess you could call it just a scarf. You could wear a normal scarf, or you could call it a neck gaiter. And not only does it keep your neck warm, but sometimes in photographs and stuff, you might want to remain anonymous. I don't know, it depends what sort of photos you're taking. But if you want the sort of ninja-y type shots, you might want to like sort of put that over, you know, over your mouth like so. I don't know, you know, you might want that. I know for some of my night photography that I do, I like to have someone in the shot to sort of show that someone is exploring the place that you're photographing. But as I said, I don't always want them to be too sort of attention seeking on their own. So if I'm wearing all black and I can cover my face, then it keeps the person kind of very low key for the photo. So it depends what sort of thing you want to do really. So another really essential piece of kit is a bag. Usually, obviously, if you're doing photography, you're going to want a camera bag, and we're going to show you all of that in another video of ours, which we're going to do looking at our actual camera kit, so please do check that out. You might also want like a proper hiking rucksack if you're going to be doing stuff like cooking food on the trail, or, you know, like camping or something like that. It depends sort of what you intend to do. This little bag here is sort of at the lower end of the spectrum if you want something that's a little bit more nifty. Really, it's called, what, a bum bag or a fanny pack. Not the most flattering names. And I got this bag back when Joe and I started exploring, and I used to wear this sort of around the waist like this. That was how I looked back in the day. But now, you look a little bit, well, it's not so flattering. Now you've got these things called crossbody bags, which is basically the same thing, but you just wear it that way instead. And these bags are quite actually good for, like, if you're going into sort of towns and cities, maybe not doing like a hardcore explore, but you might be sort of going somewhere where you just want to take a couple of photos on a day trip. You can get a camera in there. My mirrorless camera, which is not this one, actually fits in there completely, and you can get your phone, you can get your wallet, your keys, anything else you might need. So a little bag like this is quite handy if you're sort of going on like more of a day trip where you might just do a little bit of exploring en route. And one of the pieces of safety equipment that you might want to wear, sometimes you might want to wear hard hats if you're going into any tunnels that might collapse, or abandoned buildings. You know, that's totally up to you if you want to do that. Something that you might use a bit more often is sort of masks and like respiratory protection. You know, life tip, always wear protection if you're going in. So you might want to wear these sort of like various respirators. You might not want to bother with them. It's totally sort of up to you, I think, really to decide if you think it's necessary and what you're comfortable with. At the sort of lower end of the spectrum, we've got this sort of cheap COVID type mask, which personally it doesn't really do much, but you might want to wear that if it's just like a little bit dusty or something where you go in. It might look kind of hardcore, but actually it's pretty pointless really. It's not going to protect against much, so we can get rid of that. Also, you might see that there's some paper disposable masks. These are actually quite good. We wear these sometimes ourselves, but you need to check what the filters are on them, because you've got these different ones. You've got, I think it's PP1, PP2 and PP3, and those are the different grades of filters. Now, the first one is basically rubbish. The second one is good for a lot of things, like bird poo, which sometimes you don't want to breathe in, or like general dust. But P3 is good against stuff that's really fine, like asbestos, which you might come up against in some of your explores, and you need to have the fine filter to protect against that. Some of them paper masks do protect against asbestos. People say, oh, they don't work, but they do. But these masks are really, really sought after now. They're quite expensive because of COVID. I think sort of health workers have been buying them up, and you can pay just as much for a paper disposable one as you can for like a full half mask like this. This one is just by JSP. It's actually only costs about £15, so it looks quite hardcore, but it's actually quite cheap. It's really lightweight. It's just literally a piece of rubber, and you've got these two filters. And the good thing about these is you don't need to throw them away after using them. It keeps all the dust contained in the filters, so you can wear them quite a few times before replacing them. I put the filters in a little plastic bag because I think the moisture can ruin the filters from the air. Like, you know, they just get damp over time. But you can put those filters in the mask, and that will protect against asbestos and pigeon poo, anything else that you might need to protect yourself against. So another part of the sort of kit that you might want to take is stuff that's sort of suited to the actual places you go in, not just clothing. One of the obvious things for this is torches for places that are dark, which we end up needing quite a lot. You might also need to bring stuff like ladders or ropes for certain things. It just depends what you're doing. Now with torches, we might use a sort of filming camera light for our videos, but also you might want some torches just for sort of lighting the places up so you can see. First thing that is a good emergency is just the light on your phone, in case all your torches die or something like that. Do be mindful, don't sort of rely on just one torch in some really dark tunnel system or something. That could go wrong for obvious reasons. Torch wise, I think these Cree LED torches as they're called, are really good. They're really sort of recent technology, and you've got like these little yellow dot LEDs inside them, little yellow squares that are really bright, and they're 10 times better than the torches Joe and I had when we first started exploring that took loads and loads of massive batteries. This one just takes two sort of fairly biggish batteries, and it's really solid, really hard wearing, and it's nice and yeah, like quite compact. You can put that in your bag. It's really bright as well. You can get some much better ones in this one, but I got this one from Wilko's for about £12. You can get them off eBay and Amazon as well. And also you can go for like the higher end ones, like those O-light torches, and ones that cost an awful lot more. Something you don't want to take exploring is something for self-defense. A lot of people sort of mistakenly go into exploring thinking, oh, it's going to be really dangerous. There's going to be like these homeless people that we're going to have to fend off. Joe and I have never had a problem with this. You don't need to go tooling up before and explore. Actually, all that could happen from that is you could get arrested because you're somewhere you're not meant to be, and then you get searched and found to have a weapon on you, which is going to get you in a lot of trouble, even if it's for self-defense. Another torch you might want to take with you is a spotlight, so something a bit bigger and a bit brighter. This one is quite a cheap one. It's quite big, but some camera lights are brighter and a lot smaller. But this one here, it's really, really bright, so you can light up some really big, dark places with it, and it's very lightweight. I attached this strap, a camera strap I had spare, around the handle so that if I'm going through flooded places I don't have to worry about putting the torch down, and I can keep it swinging at waist height like that, whilst I'm taking photographs and adjusting my bag without having to put stuff on the wet ground. So there we go. I think that's covered pretty much everything that Joe and I have sort of encountered we might need for some of our adventures, whether you're doing some urban exploring, just some hands-on adventure, whatever it is that you might be needing. And that's covered everything from the clothes to the kit that might come in handy. I hope you found it interesting, hopefully taken away a few tips yourself and maybe gotten a few ideas, but also I'm guessing people are going to have their very varying opinions about this sort of stuff, so please do comment if you've got any better suggestions or things you disagree with. Some things that you agree with, let us know. And you can check out our other video, which is going to be coming up on the camera kit that you can use if you're more interested in that side of things. Thanks for watching. Do remember to check out beyondthepoint.co.uk, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest of it.